Make insurance fun and useful. Infinite banking concepts, living benefits, and 0 to 1 ideas with Sean Leech.
Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.
We're your host, David and Al Denning.
What happens when a millennial couple dives headfirst into the insurance world, scales $1 million remote business, and decides to share the journey with the world?
You get the Modern Insurance Agent.
Here, we reveal the messy, magical, and sometimes hilarious realities of building a business and a life you love.
From traveling the globe to building remote teams. Yes, even working remotely on top of a mountain in the Philippines. We're sharing insights, strategies, and plenty of laughs to help agents and entrepreneurs succeed.
Because, let's face it, success isn't just about hitting numbers.
It's about designing a life that works for you.
So let's dive in and build something extraordinary together.
Welcome back to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast. If you're trying to build trust online, educate clients without hype, and create real partnerships that feed your pipeline, today's episode's for you. But before we dive in, you can get the show notes, all the goodies, everything we put together for you, as well as how to connect with our awesome guest. If you go to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast, we already put it all together for you guys. So today I'm joined by Sean Leech, a producer who's leaning hard into education, infinite banking, and living benefits, and modern social strategies. He's building a realtor-facing IBC campaign, presenting to groups, and pushing a fresh, fun message about what insurance can actually do. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Hey, great to be here, David. Man, I love the intro. So you guys were in the Philippines on a mountain working?
We did. I got stranded on a mountain, almost died. That was a fun one, trying to get back to town with no light on the moped and flat tires. And it's a whole story for sure. But yes, we used to spend time over in Philippines and Thailand and Vietnam for about half the year, and still like to travel over there. Sister-in-law's Thai, so brother actually married Thai. And so we love Southeast Asia.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've always been told to try the pho. The Vietnamese pho, the soup.
Yeah, yes. There's a lot of good pho even here. If you find some good spots, we actually try to do some homemade pho as well. You need to find kind of like an Asian market, which is also great in case you need any sort of like herbs, like basil, mint, other stuff. Like stores, like grocery stores charge like out the wazoo for like a few leaves, but you go to the Asian markets, you grab a giant bag of mint for like nothing. And so I use it in cocktails, the food, other stuff. But yeah, definitely try some homemade pho. It's worth it. Plus, it's a fun recipe to learn. So
appreciate that. Appreciate it.
So we'll have to go on a trip over to Vietnam. I'll show you around. So yeah.
Hey, please. I'll be honored. Definitely honored.
Let's go. So as far as today, I mean, I think the origin is the greatest place to start. So Sean, tell me all about your birth, everything. We maybe fast forward a little bit in life, right? So you told me that you were introduced to this industry by your mom. How did that happen? Was she an insurance agent? What did that look like?
Yes, my beautiful mother, Tony. She actually introduced this industry to me, I would say in 2022.
Okay.
She's been licensed since like the 80s, right? So she saw the industry before.
Yeah.
She's still an agent now. And then in 2023, March of 2023 is when I became a licensed agent. Just really kind of working it part-time. I had a full-time job at the time. So it was like in and out, and it really wasn't until the end of April, beginning of May this year, 2025, is when I was like, okay, like I'm seeing the opportunity. I'm seeing, how the lifestyle I can live, the people I can help. So that's where we currently are. But yeah, there's a lot more to unravel. There's definitely a lot more to unravel. But she got me into it. So.
And with her getting into it, she's been industry quite a while, seen the changes, but also survived. And when 92% agents don't make it past the first year or two, being in the industry for 40 years is amazing. So tell me though, when you're introduced and starting to look at this, and then also fully hopping into this, like what clicked to you about ownership, investing, entrepreneurship, and from maybe building this as like a business side, did you see that kind of as an opportunity there, or more of a, hey, this is a great way to make income while helping people?
I think some of both. That's a really good question. I've always had an urge to, I guess, be an owner, right? Entrepreneurship. It's
Yep.
very glorified, right? It's very glorified. Um, like you're behind you limitless. There's no caps on what you can achieve in this life personally. So with entrepreneurship, you know, initially thinking of entrepreneurship, I think of money, right? What can you make money wise? But after getting involved into this industry, it's like, who can I become? Like,
Mm.
what's the best version that I can become of myself limitlessly? Um, and fast forward, I guess the beginning of this year to now, from May to now, I realize for all who'd like to get into entrepreneurship, becoming an insurance agent, let's say it costs you $200 to $300, you can literally start your own business, learn the skills necessary, business skills, communication skills, insurance knowledge and skills, and then utilize that and leverage that, further in this industry or whatever you like. Like me personally, I love organics, healthy products. I had I think I was like 18 or 19, maybe 20. I had a clothing line, right? I had a clothing line, but I never really got it off the ground. I think I had one sale, maybe two. I know a friend supported me, but I never really got it off the ground. So, in the spirit of entrepreneurship, getting into this industry, and especially like a team that I'm on and work with, it can really, skyrocket your development, your knowledge, and helping people. And in turn, by helping people, you can help yourself have more income and just keep the cycle going, right? Keep it going. So
I love that. I love that viewing entrepreneurship and business opportunity as also an opportunity for personal growth, development, and leveling up skill sets, which I think entrepreneurship definitely is. Like, it is fun because you get to level it up and you have this unlimited, there's no hitting the top where I can't move up anymore, or hey, don't go learn those skill sets, that doesn't apply to your position or role in this company and stuff like that, versus I can acquire these skill sets, whether I eventually hire internally or I really like doing these things for my company. So that's exciting. What was the name of your clothing company, your clothing brand?
nature of God.
Okay.
Nature of God.
That's a good name.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a sun, it was a shield. So it was just like enlightening and protecting, caring, caressing, right? So I was just thinking, like, what could be something that caresses everybody? Well, the sun, we all,
Mhm.
we need the sun. So
Maybe an eventual like either name or slogan for your agency, right? So I don't know. There could be something there, or that are some new clothing lines. We'll see, right? So,
sure,
um,
for sure.
I love that. So, with insurance side, like, that's I'm glad your mom introduced you to it, because let's be honest, most people aren't generally like, I want to be an astronaut, pro athlete, or I want to get insurance when I grow up. But you had a parent in insurance, so you actually saw that world as a part of that. But was there a moment that you realized, like, personally owning a policy changed your perspective or on the industry?
Yeah, personally owning a policy, absolutely. Um, I didn't really realize the power of insurance
Mm-hmm.
until I started learning more about it. And then once I got my own policy, I was like, wow, like I feel it's like an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got to clean the house, you got to clean the garage or clean the car. And once it's done, it's like it's a good feeling. Or like you have to work out and you're like, oh, it's done. When I had that in place, I was like, okay, like that's like, a check mark. All right, I have my own policy now. Um, so I know my loved ones, have something that they'll be taken care of, right? But it started with getting my own. Yeah, it definitely started with getting my own.
And with that, how old are you, Sean?
I'm 28, currently
20.
28.
So is that a really young millennial or is that a Gen Z?
You know what? I had someone comment on a post recently. They were like, "How old are you? Are you a Gen Zer?" And I didn't even look it up. I'm not sure. I don't know. Can somebody send a comment? Can
Someone
somebody
let
let us
us
know?
know for sure. I don't remember if Gen Z starts before born in 2000, in which case you'd be a young millennial, or after. But what I will say is I think will be helpful for those that are listening and maybe that are either old millennial, Gen X, or boomers even. I have a lot still in this industry of what was that was kind of eye-opening for you about insurance, or attractive or interesting you found as you started diving into it there? Because let's be honest, a lot of 20-year-olds life insurance, not things we're looking at, not things we're thinking about, not things we're approaching. In fact, I don't think I would have personally had life insurance because I wasn't involved in that in this industry at that point, until maybe about 26. We had bought our first home as we moved back to the US from South Africa, and someone from like Northwestern Mutual came up, and someone we met, maybe a networking event, because we were running a business, a marketing consulting one prior to this, and was like, hey, you own a home, like we should probably talk about this. We're like, yeah, it was, and ended up a basic mortgage protection policy, and we're like, well, this just makes sense in a super afford, why would we not, like, but I never thought about it, no one ever talked to us about it. And at that point, the statistic was over like half of millennials had never even been approached or talked to about insurance, period. They've never had someone come talk to them about it. And so there is this, hey, what gets younger millennials and Gen Zs, like, what would they find valuable or interesting about insurance?
Well, number one, there's something that I truly love. More of an advanced market we can get into as well. But for anyone who's 18 and up, like let's say 18 to 30, right? And you feel like, you know what, I don't need insurance. I really don't need insurance. Maybe they do. Maybe they have children. Maybe they have the mortgage, right? Protecting the mortgage. But the most foundational and basic principle I think of with the insurance is, especially for a young person, because it's like, why would I even get it? Let's say I don't have kids. I rent. Well, God forbid, if you died tomorrow, does your parents do they have like 10, 15, 20, $25,000 for a funeral? Like I don't think of those things. Right. And I was living wild. Like I wasn't say I was a bad kid, but I was like, young man, a lot of energy,
Yeah.
Maybe you're driving fast, whatever. Right. I wish, good health for everyone. But number one, like do yourself a service. I highly recommend do yourself a service, but do your family a service. Like put that in place. It doesn't have to cost a lot. You don't have to get, an exuberant amount, but just have something. So God forbid, if something does happen, your family doesn't have that burden, right? We see time and time again, GoFundMe's. We see, fish fries, church events. And I think if there's more financial education and wellness in communities, just to even start your financial journey with the basic principle of insurance, we could really minimize a lot of those GoFundMe's, fish fries, etc., and just have a lot more ease, right? Because if someone passes, we definitely, want to honor their life, right? Personally, for me, if people cry, hey, I like people to celebrate me. I hope you celebrate my life. I hope I have a life worth celebrating. But, we love people. So during those times, it's probably much easier, much more convenient to actually honor that loved one than have the financial headache, right? So, hey, if you're 18 years old, 18, 20, 25, 30, just think about that for a moment. Just let that sit. Like, are you comfortable if you died tomorrow? If it was your time, right? Hey, it's your time to go. Is your family, are your parents, do they have money to, to cover those expenses? If not, there's a lot of really good agents out there, and I hope you find one that like truly educates you and you get a great policy and just, keep building on that. So
all that. I love celebrating life as well. My family can weekend at Bernie's me if they want to. Like, I think that would be fun. Or maybe it'd be traumatizing. I don't know. So I'll leave that up to whoever. But what I will say is, yes, 100% agree with what you talked about. And I think for those that are listening here as well, we're going to get into some other applications, concepts, and uses of insurance as well that go way beyond the if you pass or when you pass, right? Which is a win. We all know that will happen at some point, unless you know something I don't, which please tell me. But other than that, that's a win. But what are these other things we can use, leverage, living benefits? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about infinite banking. But yes, there's some really amazing things that I think, as you talk about financial education and just educating around insurance, yeah, 18, 20, 25 years like, well, yeah, no one told me about this way that you could use life. Like, yeah, this is pretty cool, right? And so we'll dive into that a little bit too. But before we dive into that, you've worked in healthcare, transportation. How did those experiences maybe shape your approach to clients, operations? Did you bring any skill sets or things from those industries into this one?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that. I don't think that I recall.
Now you have.
Well, now I have. So appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. So I worked in healthcare for about 4 or 5 years. Clients with autisms, other intellectual needs, and physical needs. And I think that taught me so much about myself, right? Like taught me, patience, right? Being kind, a lot of empathy, giving, caring. And I think that translated, when I'm on the phone with a client, right? Just showing that empathy, really listening, seeing how I can be a benefit. Um, yeah, I think that translated big time, actually. Um, so, hey, people can go volunteer, volunteer and help people too. That can increase your skills and so on and so forth. And then transportation. So, man, number one, transportation. And healthcare. I appreciate all the healthcare workers in any fields, and then also transportation because I didn't realize like the lifestyle and how important the transportation industry is.
Mm.
Right, all the goods and services moving across the country, across the world. But the skills I learned from transportation, time management. Those
Mm.
guys and the ladies, they're on it. Like you have to be here at a certain time, do this, do that. Like being flexible, time management, um, almost military like,
Mm.
almost military like. So I think having the softness, you can be, empathy, but also, have order, like combining the best of those worlds, and then just applying it to this has helped a lot. And it can help, I guess, with anything, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are two huge skill sets to successful agents in the industry is a level of discipline and time
Mhm.
management. Because especially at the
Yeah.
beginning, you're wearing all the hats in your business till eventually I'm
Yes.
hiring people to handle areas and now I'm managing team in addition to my business is a whole different skill set than selling. And so, yes, discipline and time is part of that. But then the empathy side, right? Like insurance, the best agents I've seen, the best sales processes I've seen, everything is being able to put yourself in that client's shoes, understand their needs, their goals, their pain points. And that takes empathy, and people can smell it. If you're not empathetic, I'm just here for the sale, and like peace out, right?
Sure.
And everybody
Sure.
wants the empathetic agent, right? It makes you so much more relatable, valuable with the clients, and you also feel good about what you're doing because you're realizing I'm truly solving needs here as well. So I love that. I think that's also why a lot of people from service-based industries do well with insurance because they understand serving that client and solving those solutions versus I'm just here to make my sale. So
That's a great point. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a very good point.
let's talk a little bit about some other use cases of insurance that are really exciting, trendy, some
Okay.
popular concepts, but I love because you can do so many cool things with it. But let's take one that you love and that you've been talking and educating about, infinite banking. On that side, and maybe some of those listening of especially those coming from the industry that are a lot of the people listening to the podcast have maybe heard this, but if you're from the health or the Medicare or maybe the PNC side, maybe you're like, I just don't really understand. It sounds like a cool term, but what does that break down to? So if you had to explain infinite banking, let's say not even to another agent, let's say to a consumer in 60 seconds or so, like what's your basic explanation of infinite banking?
So infinite banking, number one, infinite banking is really a concept for you to regain control of the banking function in your life. I'll say it again. Infinite banking, the concept, infinite banking concept is a concept for you to regain control of the banking function in your life. Now, this infinite banking concept was popularized by the letter R, Nelson Nash.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone listening, it's very hot take, like you said, it's very trendy. The infinite banking concept, where I highly recommend to start, is read the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Okay. Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. Start there. Just please start there. Infinite banking. So you're going to regain the control of the banking function in your life. For example, all of our money resides somewhere, whether it's under a mattress. I'm going to say primarily in banking systems, financial systems, and I appreciate all of the banking systems. I do. However, it wasn't until this information, came across to me. It wasn't until I became aware of this information that I was like, you know what? I opened a bank account, let's say at 18, and I've been putting money into a system for this long, right? For 10, going on 11 years. And, I wasn't really capturing the full financial energy, the full picture of the system because I don't own the system, right? I'm putting into like a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, respectfully, all great places. But with the infinite banking concept, you can essentially own your own system as a contract owner. Now, the system is a participating whole life policy. It's life insurance. It's a whole life policy. It's something that, John D. Rockefeller has used, his family has used. You can look up Walt Disney has used to help start Disneyland, to finance Disneyland. And those are some of the really popular people who have used it. Joe Biden, Jim Harbaugh, Magic Johnson, U.S. Congress. A lot of people have used this. And David, actually, when I was researching it more, this type of policy was actually very common before like stocks and the stock market became popular. A lot of people had their money in whole life policies, cash value whole life. But as we know, it is infinite banking, right? Infinite banking. But there's a lot of information. And I'm glad you brought this up because a lot of people, if they don't have the proper education, this can instead of being a leverage and being a catalyst and skyrocketing your finances and your legacy, like for the Rockefellers, Walt Disney, so on and so forth, it could be detrimental. Like it can be the opposite. Like this is not something to play with, right? Money's important, right? We use money for all kinds of things. I use money for this laptop I'm talking on, all kinds of things. We need to eat, etc., so on and so forth. So with the infinite banking concept, again, it's to regain the banking function in your life. You can use it for investments. If you're very, disciplined, you can use it for paying off debts, but it's not the most recommended way. I found out. You can use it towards your retirement. You can use it for, financing the things in your life, vehicles, cars, anything. But again, I suggest start there. Start with the book, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. Okay, start there and follow that rabbit hole. All right, and I hope that it, is good information for anyone listening. Because again, there's all kinds of takes everywhere with infinite banking, but this is the man who popularized it. This is the original. All right, this is like the Godfather. Okay, listen to the Godfather. Listen to the Godfather.
I love it. I love it. We need a whole video series of Sean reenacting bits out of the book, essentially, right? And just breaking them down. So, and I love that. And I love the content you're doing. We'll talk about that too. Now, and you mentioned some of the uses of reclaiming from the bank on that side, but there's also kind of advantages like tax advantages behind that as well, and then even like protection benefits as far as with lawsuits, claims, all kinds of stuff too. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff, and and we'd be here for probably hours and hours if we fully went down the IVC rabbit hole. Which I love that you clarified. This is something you go learn, study, and go through yourself to pick up, which is great. And honestly, it would be a great piece of people's financial education, or working with a trusted agent that's going to be able to break it down, explain, and make it. Make sure it's the fit and help you get set up with it as well. So and speaking of that continued learning development, like you mentioned earlier, plus with IBC, like you're exploring Nelson Nash Institute practitioner status as well. You talked about even working around some of these practitioners and stuff as well. What does that process look like for you, and why was that beneficial?
Man, it's super beneficial. Again, just to make sure things are properly structured, to have the right education. It's not rocket science, but it's also not just riding a bicycle, right? It's like somewhere in between.
I like that.
So to work with individuals, I've been very grateful. A colleague also really loves infinite banking concepts. And we're able to actually, start speaking and working in a group of other IBC practitioners. So these are people who have gone through the Nelson Nash Institute. They've gone through the course, gone through the studies, and have been approved to be a practitioner of this concept, right? And just learning has been so valuable. It's like mind-blowing. It's a very simple process, but just the way they break it down and the strategies and just how to explain it is phenomenal. It's definitely phenomenal. Now, with infinite banking as well, just so everyone knows, this is a legal concept. Like, this isn't some I don't know, like off the hook, off the cuff, like thing, fly by night thing. This is a legal concept. These agents are licensed agents in the respective states. They are insured, to ensure that they do, right by clients. So this is a legitimate thing. And I just feel I'd like there to be more credibility, a sense of authenticity, because again, it's very trendy. So again, there's just so much. I've seen a lot of things on both ends of the spectrum. And hopefully by working with the, Nelson Nash Institute, I can be a light and help educate people so you guys can make the best decision for yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, man, it's not about the money. Like, if you can, better yourself and your family and legacy, hey, that feels better to me than just, receiving money, right? It's all about the heart. So
I like that. With anything trendy and popular, there's bound to be a lot of bad information out there, or incorrect information, right? And I think we've all seen that. Everybody's who's watched this and other things as well, but like talking about this specifically, and that is where, like you said, like some sort of accreditation, credibility, something to make sure the information is correct, and that trust goes into that as well. Just kind of like, you wouldn't have a bookkeeper doing your taxes, although they may be understand that I'm going to go with a CPA that knows that, like, that's going to know, not get me in trouble with the government here. And so I love you breaking that down and what that looks like with that. And then with one of the other concepts that also is not just about when I pass, right? That has been around for a while, but still a lot of people just don't know this about insurance, right? Is living benefits. Can you break down real quick on what living benefits is, but what are some real world scenarios that resonate most with families as far as with living benefits?
Absolutely. So a great mentor of mine, Mr. Everett Allen, explained it to me. It's like, so we have a death benefit, right? You get a life insurance policy, you have a death benefit, you die, you pass it on to your loved ones. But who and what is the number one asset in our life? We are, right? Without you, David, right? I mean, Elle's there too. So you guys still have that. That's a great partnership. That's one of the really great gifts of marriage. But, and hi Elle. But without you, you're the number one asset in your business and in your life and everything you do. So what if there was a way where, if God forbid you got really hurt or sick, you couldn't work, you couldn't pay the bills, you had to take some time off and take care of your health. What if you could actually access that death benefit while you're alive? So some real world examples would be, let's say, a family. Let's say a husband and wife. Let's say the wife, they have 3 kids. The wife is a fantastic mom. And her primary role, she just takes care of the kids. She could have a, entrepreneurship career as well. But, the nurturing side of women, she's taking care of the children. The husband, let's say he's the primary breadwinner. If he gets hurt, right? If he gets hurt, does she go back to work? And then he's just like recovering. Is he able to take care of the children? It's a weird scenario. It's a weird situation. So with the living benefits, it can really fill in those gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And David, as you and I both know, a lot of people may have short-term disability, but depending on your employer, that could range, let's say, anywhere from 40 to 70% of the income you're used to making. I know for me, right. I don't know. Like I'd prefer not to live on 40 to 70% of my income. Now, for some people, that might not even cut it though. That's the thing. Like that might not, they could go into debt because of something like that. So instead of, having a financial burden while you're already trying to heal, you're out of work for a reason. You're already trying to get better. The living benefits fill in those gaps and you can access that while you're alive. Some companies even up to 95%. Like if you have a terminal illness, 12 years or less to live, like it's the most high, the shortest amount of time you have to live, the highest risk.
12
you
months,
can receive
right?
up to 95%.
12 months left to live, or 12
Yeah,
years?
if you have 12 months or less to live,
12 months.
yeah, these insurance carriers, they'll see, like, for example, if you got hurt or sick at work, they'll take a look and see your prognosis, right? You need a doctor's note. You can't just say, hey, they want to
Listen, I
see.
don't think I'm making it past this year. Yeah, just give me the money.
Right. No, it's legit, bro. It's legit. But yeah, if like the higher the diagnosis is, which I'm wishing good health for everyone, but like
Mhm.
once you get the terminal illness, like 12 months or less to live, like they'll pay out a lot of money,
Mhm.
right? And you can use it while you're alive. Um, And then another thing, David, there's a lot of underserved communities. Like,
Mhm.
again, I used to work in the transportation.
Mhm.
A lot of those guys and gals, they may, need something like this. If they're out, and they can't drive their truck, they can't
Yep.
transport, and they're only at 40
Mhm.
to maybe 70% of income, short-term disability, that could be a major pitfall. Same thing for, let's say, entrepreneurs. Right? Or do entrepreneurs really have those employee benefits? Or let's say, barbers, salon owners, so on and so forth. So living benefits is awesome. And even if you have all the employee benefits, having a policy like this just gives you that extra sense of, okay, well, if anything were to happen, I have it, right? I have it. So
I love it. It's life changing, right? And, both of
yeah,
these concepts, these ideas are so powerful, which is why they're now built into a lot of policies for living benefits, and then for the IBC is just an amazing thing that you can leverage, in a lot of different ways. Very flexible, right? For
yes.
both of those. Now, one thing we started to talk about a little bit earlier, I want to dive a little bit more into is I think a lot of insurance agents know that the real estate side and real estate agents and realtors can be really powerful partners. The industries are related together. I was just actually talking to someone earlier today who runs a whole real estate team, and it's like, yeah, insurance and real estate just go hand in hand on a lot. Can you walk us through a little bit through your realtor campaign and what problem do you help them solve for clients, and what does this kind of look like in this capacity?
Yeah. So a campaign running for realtors. Well, I actually put it on pause to reevaluate the most proper way to go about it. Again,
Mhm.
because I got in touch with IBC practitioners. Um, it can still be done. So this is the campaign, right? It's approaching realtors throughout the country, and giving them a tool. And what is that tool? It's the, infinite banking concept.
Mhm.
And then what do they do with that tool? Well, they're helping their clients buy and sell homes, David. But what they can also offer is, hey, you just got a 20 or 30-year mortgage. Let's say I'm the realtor. Hey, John, you just got a 20 or 30-year mortgage. What if there was a way where we can actually help you pay off that mortgage completely and any other of your debts, all of them? in, let's say, maybe half the time or even 9 years or less.
Hmm.
Like, that's huge. That's huge for the client, right? A 20 or 30-year mortgage, maybe in 9 years or less, it could be completely wiped away, including all of their debts. And then for the realtor, where it's like, hey, like, you're that guy who got me the house, but now you got me out of my mortgage in like
Hmm.
record time. Like, it's awesome. However, after speaking with very wise, wise men, when people have gray hair, you just have to listen, right? You just have to listen. They've gone through a lot of things, a lot of experience. And it's like, hey, if the people don't have, if they're already in debt, let's say, and they don't have the financial discipline, infinite banking may not be the best approach for them, right? But if they can work with you or show, initially that they have the discipline, or they're, learning and reading the book, right? Becoming your own banker and,
Hmm.
showing more discipline, this can, change their finances, help them get out of debt. Again, number one, regain that banking function in their life. And then they can use it for so many things, like we were mentioning.
I love that. That's super powerful. And for that real estate agent making that impact, because, the average person, at least 4 to 5 times within their life moves, buys, sells, on this. And so that continued relationship with the client is so powerful. We know it from insurance, from referrals and keeping clients on the books, persistency and all that. But for real estate, you work so hard to have initial sale, but yeah, hopefully I keep that customer for life as a part of that. So making an impact to help them getting out of their mortgage even faster and paying it off and building up equity. Well, now it's time for me to buy the next home, Mr. Real Estate Agent. Like, let's look at the next spot, right? So I
For
love
sure.
the relationship approach to that as well, and
Yeah.
positioning them as even more powerful to their clients through that relationship with you as well. So,
Hey, another I guess a drop in here.
yeah.
So for realtors, but also for real estate investors, having a whole life policy, which we call the infinite banking concept,
Hmm.
can, drastically, help your business, right? You can have your own funding. You don't need credit checks. You don't need blood samples. You know, you can have your own funding through your own policy, rinse and repeat. And like we said, or you said, a lot of the tax advantages, tax-free loans, tax deferred growth, sheltering your assets. I think you're in Tampa, you're in Florida,
Hmm.
right? So Florida's got, not this is not any advice, but yeah, Florida's got some great laws when it comes to sheltering assets. So it all varies on your state, but yeah, it can definitely help a lot of realtors, but also I come to find out a lot of real estate investors as well.
Yeah, and there's so many cool ways to combo. Once again, with the real estate side, I mean, cool ways to combo things, like almost like if I'm take a mortgage that have a lot of equity in, and we've done this and like flipped it over to a HELOC, just replace the entire
Mhm.
mortgage with a HELOC, and then you take your checking, savings, other stuff, and you throw it all in there, so you're only paying the interest calculated daily off of a
Mhm.
lower amount or ever there, and use almost like a checking account. But you usually qualify for interest only if you've got decent credit and stuff like that, to where you're paying a lot less than you would have paid for the mortgage, and now you can put that into like a whole life policy, or just, and even if you're not doing anything with insurance, can use it for things. So there's so many different things like that. It comes down to education and knowing these things exist, right? Like
Yeah.
Edward Pritchett, I know we both know as well, like, kind of talked
Yeah.
about how the tax code is for your advantage and the people's advantage, like to help pay less in tax. It's not to charge you more. Like, this is the code
Right.
to know to pay less. So you should probably know the things that help, that are already written there, but you end up paying more in taxes for ignorance and not knowing that those things are there, right? So it's like knowing these things are how the people get to being wealthy, and then how the wealthy pass down their wealth, and how you make a generational difference. And that's why I like life
For sure.
insurance, period, because it can be a legacy creator, someone whose family's never had extra money, still income, and it's almost like starting over with children, and then over and over again. Now all of a sudden, like, oh, $1 million. Oh wow, we just created a legacy out of nothing. All right. And now can work that and pass it down and all kinds of things. So it's exciting. So
For sure. For sure.
have you have you
Yeah.
had a have you had a death claim before?
No, not yet.
There
Not
you
yet.
go.
I heard
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
yeah, right. I heard when that happens, it's like, wow. It's like the
Yeah.
light comes on. It's like, this is a for real thing.
Mhm.
I heard it's a perspective shift for sure. Yeah.
It's making a huge difference at a real tough time, right? So,
Yeah.
which is a good, I think people would much rather you approach with a check than some flowers. So, like, it's
So, hey, I work with a great gal. Her name's Christina Lopez, and she's like, what we do is so noble. I love, I don't know, there's like a stigma, I feel like, in the industry too. I've seen, but it's really such a noble thing. Like,
Mhm.
I'm coming to you with a check, like, hey, or a phone call, or, information. But man, it's some of the, times where people are grieving the most. It's like, we can really step in and, help that family, you know?
The stigma, the distrust, the other stuff comes from, I think, and whether intentionally or not, because sometimes it's just
Yeah,
unintentional, like bad
sure.
agents, right? Like the ones that are using pressure sales tactics, maybe don't even understand what they're selling, that like the used car salesman vibe, like, which I'm sure there's great used car salesmen too. So they're probably saying the same thing, like those bad ones gives,
Sure.
but it comes down to this. And this is where if I only have a transactional relationship with an agent or an agent's approaching it from a transactional side, you're definitely combating that. But if I'm approaching from a relational side where they've seen me, connected with me, like it's now a little different story, and it has a much different perspective than the agent that's just like calling me out of the blue. And so I want to talk a little bit about that because, obviously, that's an area we love handling, focusing on the relationship side. And you said, you shifted away from like cold texting for like TCPA reasons, and like, hey, maybe there's other ways for me to approach, build relationships, also natural. So what does the current like social workflow and some of these switches and changes you've made look like?
Number one, Jumpstart Go.
Oh, thank you.
Jumpstart Go. Whoever's not familiar, please check out their course. David and Elle Denning, super. It's phenomenal. I think just more organic, more social. Well, that's the main tool, right? That's the market. That's the what is that? The town center is the social media now. That's the town center where everyone is. So I think just having natural, organic posts. I mean, you can even do paid ads, I'm sure, at some point as well. But having that has helped a lot. Has helped a lot. I think just getting the message across, being able to communicate it to more people, like one to many, um, and then also building that trust. Because hey, if someone were to look me up, let's say I met you in person, David, I gave you my business card, or and it has my name. If you look me up on social and it's not, really anything there but crickets, you'll probably be like, I don't know if I want to work with this guy, right? He doesn't really have much credibility or social proof. But if you see content, if you see me
Mhm.
on there, if you see people commenting, if you see, you know, whatever, a certain amount of followers I'm following, I'm being consistent, that builds more trust, right? I feel like that definitely builds more trust. So you've helped me a lot with that instead of just, dialing away, which that still works. But again, with TCPA and those things as well, I think having the social media and making that a major component in your industry and in your tactics um, is major right now.
And yeah, basically seeing how things are shifting a little bit, right? Like I still need to get in contact with prospects or have prospects, come to me, which is even better. But maybe some of the ways I was doing that, maybe like you said, can still work, but maybe just not as effective. So what are ways that I'm still going to get more contact, right? If people are maybe not wanting to answer phone as much, or millennial Gen Zs like don't answer except for friends, or ever, like I'll be honest, I just text my friends, right? And and so like, okay, what are we on? What are we on? What are we using every day? We're using social. We're using these other things. Like, I still need to get in contact one way or the other. But yeah, if I have a phone number, I'm gonna call the phone number, right? Like, or text it, right? So pay attention to changes. Texas laws, for example,
Please.
changes very much recently. So if you text in Texas, pay attention. Although insurance, kind of falls into an exempt area, which is nice. But with it, it's definitely something to pay attention to, because one thing can knock you out, and so you do want to be compliant. But like you said, social gives us opportunity to educate, right? And like you've been doing education and teach on your videos, and we talked about earlier, a lot of people just don't know this stuff exists or that you can use it in these ways, and so they get to see you as an authority talking about that. So what kind of educational content or stuff that you've been doing do you both enjoy the most and think provides maybe some of the most value for people discovering that?
Well, you know, per your instructions, which I greatly appreciate all your coaching, you know, posting a lot of personal content as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think naturally what feels the best within myself, in my heart, for me personally, is just, encouraging, enlightening, like, good things, people to uplift people, help them, keep going.
Mhm.
So I love that, right? I love that number one person, like for the personal posts. Um, Number two is educating on the IBC. As I learn, I continue to share
Yeah.
and just really ensuring people have that foundation, right? That instruction manual from people, some of the best people in the industry who've brought this to the light for so many people, and just making sure people have that power to make the best informed decisions for themselves. So I would say, yeah, encouraging, motivating, just happiness, light, joy, right? That's number one. And then as far as the business, yeah, just education. Make sure you're empowered, for your life, for your legacy, and you can just make the best choices for yourself.
I love that. And it's so powerful that like you go from talking on like phone and hopefully, yeah, tell me what you got for me and helping some of those people and stuff. But some people maybe not as happy or thrilled or like, don't talk to me that
Yeah.
right. And it's like, I
Yeah.
know it's not me, but but it's not
Mhm.
fun. But when I talk to agents who've maybe switched a little bit or started to add this in, like I had someone recognize me and come up to me and be like, I love your stuff. I want to talk to you. And it's like, whoa, this is cool. I like this. And we just had someone message us over the weekend. Actually, I was literally talking to another team member. It was like, hey, people off of just content I'm putting out are recognizing it. But a client was like, hey, I went to another city that I'm originally from and had a real estate agent come up to me like, man, you look so familiar. Like, you know what? I've been seeing your videos on social. I love it. Remember, the dude's like, I feel like a celebrity. Whatever is like, so I'm ready to hand out autographs. People recognize me. I'm like a legend here, right? And it's fun to become where I get to be recognized. Like, oh, Sean, he's the guy who's teaching everybody about infinite banking and like knows everything about like he's definitely like who I don't know who else teaches or does. I'm just gonna send everybody Sean because I know he does, right? And like it's nice to be like, oh, okay, I like that, right? So it's fun. And with that, like mentorship, guidance, all this stuff is important, and I appreciate the shout outs, of course. And you've had a few different mentors, of course, right? And so Edward Pritchett, who we mentioned a little bit earlier, and's been on the podcast as well. He gifted you 0 to 1, great book, by the way. I think is that Peter Thiel, right?
Yes, sir.
Peter
Yes,
Thiel,
sir.
right? And before I ask you a question, just because it's actually related to this as well, some different ways Peter Thiel has leveraged things over the years that are pretty interesting. I'm only mentioning this because we went to a 3-day tax event in Fort Lauderdale, and I was like, yeah, what am I doing a 3-day tax event? If it sucks, I'll go to the beach, right? Like I was like, worst case scenario, right? But it actually ended up being real good. But Peter Thiel was one of the case studies they talked about was if you guys can go down a big rabbit hole in this if you want to, like Rob Stuckcher, we're all over business startups, and he essentially took his Roth IRA, which back at that point you could only put 2,000 into, and he took 1,700 out of his Roth IRA, the very first 2,000 he put in there, and he used the 1,700 to purchase all of his ownership in PayPal, which was new at that time. And so all of his ownership in PayPal was actually within inside his Roth. So all of the earning and value of everything from the PayPal's growth was all tax free for him inside of his IRA. So his IRA is worth billions, even though you can only put 2,000 a year into it. So these are really cool things. So Peter Thiel, smart guy. So 0 to 1, good book. What could be a 0 to 1 leap in insurance, or maybe some takeaways from that, or just things you appreciated from it?
Man, I was just going to ask you, you know, 0 to 1 in the insurance industry, and big shout out and thank you to Mr. Edward Pritchett. I know he was just on here recently. Great, phenomenal guy, phenomenal mentor, and his book Tax Free Living as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he mentioned to me when we were in Denver, and it was great seeing you. You're a celebrity, brother. You're a celebrity. You're a celebrity.
Put out enough content that eventually someone recognizes, right? Yeah.
I was like, is that David? Is that David and L? And by the way, he's great at pool, but that's another topic. So Edward Pritchett mentioned, like, if you could find what, the 0 to 1 is in this industry, you could, that's a billion dollar, $1 trillion,
Mm-hmm.
deal right there. So the hot take, right? Hot topic is AI, right?
Mm. Yep.
So I
Yep.
would say, what could be a 0 to 1 in this industry? I thought of some ways in regards to just to the IBC, right? Whole life policies, the infinite banking concept. What would that look like, a 0 to 1? But just overall, you know, okay, let me get your take on this. So with AI, right? With AI, what if what if AI could become legally compliant, right? Legally compliant, where like I could have my own team of AI robots and a team,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm appreciative of, right? They're not slaves. I appreciate them. But AI robots where, I could go through the presentation, I could work with the client, have that, empathy, one-on-one relationship. But what if the robots could actually go through, let's say, filling out the application, like where
Mm-hmm.
they had legality, like they're an extension of myself potentially. Um, or, I mean, that's just helping with tasks and things of that nature. But I mean, still, right?
Yep.
I mean, applications, they don't take that long, maybe half an hour. I've had ones over an hour, right? But that could save a lot of time for a lot of clients. I mean, it could streamline it for some people. Maybe they feel more comfortable talking to, an AI robot than, telling me like some of their personal health history, right? A comfortability standpoint there. Um, but yeah, it's still brewing. It's still brewing. There's definitely a 0 to 1 in every industry.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your takes? Do you have any juicy ideas?
Yeah, no, I think AI is obviously the hot topic and how it relates into insurance. I mean, and there's so many different applications. I don't think it's even just 1 0 to 1. I think there's a bunch of different ways you can take it. I think yes, with helping agents do more, right? But I see
Mhm.
one of the biggest opportunities for an area that a lot of agents lack and don't have time for or put as much into and end up having to do more work for less results is actually once they already are clients. And once they're clients, these touch points, this engagement, this continuous staying in front of my clients and getting more referrals from them, keeping them as clients, able to help them with other policies and other areas, or for referral partners of mine in these other areas they need support with, having connections within local businesses, getting connected with. And if I have enough connections there, maybe local businesses even offering some sort of discounts for me to pass on. Now they see me as a value source for them too. Education, changes in the markets. There's so many things that AI could help with, all these things that agents are like, oh yeah, I haven't talked to my clients in 6 months. I send them an email and a happy birthday.
Right.
Right. And that's like, okay, well, then I have to work to replace the clients that leave or that sort of stuff. So I think something even in like client success, relationships and stuff could be a big win for AI. And then not even
Mhm.
necessarily AI related, but I think something interesting is we actually had another person on the podcast, Zach, who him and a co-founder founded the world's first life insurance carrier that's entirely in Bitcoin. So the premiums are in Bitcoin, the payouts are in Bitcoin, everything's denominated in Bitcoin for
For
cryptocurrency side.
real.
Yeah, they've got 60 million in funding. They've had it for the last 4 years. It's really cool. It's a very fun episode because I was like, tell me more. Like
Right.
I've not thought this through or heard about, and so it was very interesting.
Mhm.
But once again, an example of something huge could be very interesting, not even just for the US market, which, yes, is very much something they're pursuing, but for internationally, right? Because only
Mhm.
100 million people in the world, according to him, have permanent insurance, have like a whole life policy or IUL or something like that. And outside the US and like Europe and stuff like that, a lot of these third world countries, there's no sense in buying one just because I'm not sure what my local currency is going to do. Like Argentina's had 4 different currencies
Mm.
in one person's lifetime. If I bought a policy, chances are it's never going to be worth anything because that currency may go away. And now they have the opportunity to get a policy in Bitcoin where it will keep its value and get paid out life insurance. Now pass a legacy on that wouldn't be able to do it before. So these kinds of things, there's so many cool things, right? And like the more you learn, the more you pick up, then the more like, oh, I spotted a 0-1 idea here, or a 0-1 process. So it's cool. So anyways, I love that continuous development, because that's something strive for every day. Encourage clients to strive for as well, because we're always learning, and it's a fun industry that's always changing too, and it's not going anywhere. Insurance is here to stay, guys. But
for
yeah,
everybody. Hey, and you know what I love about you, David? You and Elle is just, you guys make it fun, right? Like it's supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to
that's
be
what I'm
fun.
saying.
Like
Why is insurance boring? It doesn't have to be.
no, and no, we're just like so serious. Like I've caught myself where it's like, you know, let's just make it fun. So you're such a bright light, and I definitely appreciate, all that you guys share, and share with me personally. So
I appreciate
yeah.
that. I listen. I view the whole industry as a relationship based industry. That's also with clients, the insureds as well. And there's zero reason that just because something is serious that I'm helping with, that my personality, how I approach it, how I develop relationships, has to be serious as well. Especially when I'm generally a very optimistic, fun, try to be fun. Elle tells me I'm not funny, but I think I got a little bit of humor. But the whole thing is, like, if you enjoy what you do, have a lot of fun with it, and people see that passion and get to connect with that passion as well, especially when it's your target audience. These are the people I love working with the most, which is what you should be bringing to your business, right? Then every day is just fun and excitement and joy, versus like, I have to wake up and do this, right? And so,
Right.
why not have fun with what you do, right? I think it leads to better results.
Sure. For sure. For sure. Well, I hope these 0-1 ideas come to fruition. And the Bitcoin one is phenomenal, dude. That is just like,
Check it out.
yeah.
It's probably the first of a few different things that will come out from that. But yeah, it was exciting. So, and I'm sure we could talk about 0-1 ideas, a lot of stuff for a long time, and I look forward to some continued conversations. But one last question I will ask is, if a brand new agent asks to start with like infinite banking concept, the right way, what's step one?
So me personally, the right way is go to the Godfather, go to the originator who made it popular for everyone. Read the book again, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. Um, yeah, that's a great foundation right there. So for anyone, infinite banking, my recommendation, I think it can only benefit you. So
I love it. And I really do think a series would be you like breaking down pieces from that, of like, okay, I'm
okay.
reading the book, but let's the book's fine, but I want this more. I want Sean's breakdown of this. Like, Sean, like, all right, guys, this is kind of like this, right? And if it's got some skits and some fun stuff to go with it, even better to learn, right? Like, we had a buddy just do a pre-licensing course for insurance and got certified, but very video based and fun. And I'll be honest, some of these existing courses are terribly boring. I remember going through myself on them. I was like, man, if you can make something boring exciting, you will win. That's a 0-1 idea right there, is making something
You're
boring
right.
exciting. So
You're
I
right,
love it.
right.
That's why they call it infinite
Yeah.
banking concept, and not just like buy a whole life policy and put somebody and loan it to yourself. Like, infinite banking, that sounds amazing. And so yes,
Right. Right.
definitely
It's
is the
supposed to be fun. Right, right. It has
exactly.
such a fun name. We have to do it justice. We
That's
have to
what
do it justice.
it sounds like, Infinity War, right? Like Marvel, like, am I like a superhero
Right.
if I get infinite banking concept?
Oh
You
my
can be,
gosh,
right?
dude. Dude, if I came out there with a cape on, you know what I mean?
We found it. We found it. Sean's going to add a cape to his repertoire. So I love it, guys. Well, if you guys look forward to seeing Sean in a cape on the next time, definitely let us know. Sean, I appreciate you so much for coming on, taking time with us. For those who are like, listen, I love Sean. I want to learn more. I want to see his content. I want to connect. Where's the best place for them to go connect and plug in with what you're doing?
Facebook, Sean Leech, SeanLeech. Instagram and TikTok, I have my personal page is Rising with Sean. And then business page, where you're going to get a lot of the infinite banking concept, is Win with Sean. So at Rising with Sean, personal, and then business is at Win with Sean. So
Perfect. And guys, we'll get that included in the show notes. So if you go to jumpstartgonow.com, we'll have the links there as well as all the stuff from the episode as well. Thank you, Sean, so much again for joining us today. Thank you for everybody for joining us on this episode of the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.